David Benavidez now says in 2025 his next fight is going to be with David Murrell. Oh, let's go. This is the left hook. Okay, so David Benavidez went on his social media, said that he's going to be saying that his next fight is going to be with David Murrell. That fight to me is more competitive than Bivol versus Beterbiev. This is a great fight. This is a great fight. The two best 168-pound, the two best 168 pounders going at it. Right after this Beterbiev and Bivol fight. Oh, the implications. Oh man, boxing just got so good. Boxing is so good right now because, the thing is this: Canelo. We all want to see Canelo get in the ring. We want with any of these four, right? Any of these four fighters. This is what we need for that to happen. These Bivol, Beterbiev need to fight. We need to see Murrell and Benavidez fight. The popularity of those fights, whatever happens in those fights, if it's mind-blowing, earth-shattering, if it's just amazing, which I think they both have the opportunity to be, that's what's going to draw Canelo. That's what's going to make Canelo be like, okay, it's worth my time. Everyone's going to be talking about these two fights, okay? And the winners of these two fights, everyone's going to be talking about these guys. So they're both going to have the opportunity. They might not be able to get the opportunity to fight Canelo, but this is going to give them a much better chance at Canelo saying, hey, you know what? I don't like the shine that they're getting after that win. They're taking away my shine. It's time for me to go in there and stop that. I would love that to happen. I think Canelo. Let me back up. Benavidez versus Murrell is an amazing fight. As anyone who watches boxing knows, that's an amazing fight. I think it is more competitive than Bivol versus Beterbiev, and that is a super ultra competitive fight. Beterbiev versus Bivol. Okay, so I'm not taking anything away from that fight. I'm just saying this fight is even more competitive. These two guys, they're so similar to me in as far as their ability. I think Murrell's a little quicker. I think Benavidez hits a little harder, but it's just like inches, whereas Beterbiev and Bivol, they're different, right? I think Bivol's clearly he's going to throw more punches and he has better combinations. He throws in combinations. Whereas Beterbiev doesn't really throw in combinations. He's like more of a one punch at a time guy. He doesn't. He definitely hits harder than Bivol. Whereas with Benavidez and Murrell, quickness. Like I said, Murrell slightly, power, Benavidez slightly, but they might have their power is very, very close. Their size is very, very close. I mean, they don't look alike, but I mean, they look like they could be from the same. Well, Bivol and Beterbiev are from the same country too, I guess so. But I just really like that matchup between Murrell and Benavidez, and even regardless of whether I like it or not, It's basically the two best 168 pounders fighting each other, right? Canelo, I don't know if he's better than either of those guys, but I will tell you this: he has a better chance. He has a good. He has a good chance to beat Murrell or Benavidez. I think he's got a good chance to beat either one. I don't think he's got a. I think he's got no chance to beat Bivol, and I think he's got even less of a chance to beat Beterbiev, if that makes any sense. Now, the good thing about that is that might be a reason for him to get in the ring, because if he loses to Beterbiev, everyone expects him to lose to Beterbiev. If he loses to Bivol, I think most people expect him to lose to Bivol. I don't think anyone who's watched boxing and anyone who knows boxing, he pretty much got shut out against Bivol. Bivol beat him pretty easily, and he couldn't do anything to Bivol. He couldn't hurt him at all. He couldn't even confuse him. He gave him no problems. Bivol had zero problems with Canelo. Benavidez and Canelo both fought Caleb Plant, right? And for me, Canelo did better against Caleb Plant than Benavidez did. Canelo, I felt like, handled Caleb Plant. And Benavidez closed the show well, but he had trouble. He had trouble in there with Caleb. So, I mean, everyone's picking Benavidez to beat Canelo. I'm not so sure at all. I think that's a 50-50 fight. I think the Murrell-Benavidez fight is a 50-50 fight. I think Murrell versus Canelo is 50-50. I think all three of those are true 50-50. If Bivol or Beterbiev were to fight Canelo, if they were given 50-50 odds on that fight, man, I bet everything I had. Although, the only thing is this. Here's the thing with Canelo is that, you have to really, 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 really beat Canelo to get that victory. I mean, you have to smoke him, because Bivol probably won every round, and he got 7-5 victory. It was like at best 10-2. I said best, but really, if you were to really break down each round, Canelo didn't win a single round. Now, at the end of the day, too, let me just say this too, because it might sound like I'm banging on Canelo a little bit. I love Canelo. I think Canelo's an awesome fighter, and I couldn't, I gotta speak. I'm gonna speak on two different levels here, okay? Two different angles, basically, from a fan's perspective, but then as from an advisor / friend perspective for Canelo, right? As a fan, I can't stand the way Canelo does his thing, right? I can't stand the fact that he can pick and choose whoever he wants to, right? He won't fight anybody who's a threat. Even though, and when I say that, I mean anybody that is going to go life and death with him, he's not going to take that. He's not going to fight Bivol. He's not going to fight Beterbiev. He's not going to fight Benavidez. He's not going to fight Murrell, okay? If crazy fireworks happen in these next two fights between, the Bivol, Beterbiev, and Murrell versus Benavidez, if those fights produce a lot of buys, if they produce amazing fireworks, if they elevate the fighter who wins to a crazy level of like #1 pound for pound, let's say one of these guys gets elevated to #1 pound for pound, then Canelo might think about doing something, right? But that's what they need. That's what they need. So as a fan, Canelo is not conducive for us to see the best fights out there. Now, I would say that he's completely earned it, though. And as an advisor or a friend of his, I would say keep doing what you're doing, Canelo. I mean, he's living the dream, and he deserves it, and he's earned it, and no one deserves it more than Canelo, because Canelo has fought everybody, up until now. Now he's chilling. He's older now, but, I mean, he fought everybody. He went through everybody. He fought everybody. He's got 60-some fights, and he knocks people out. He goes for it. So, he hasn't been knocking people out in a while, but he will knock people down. He goes hard. He doesn't back up. He doesn't run. He comes at you, and he backs you up. So he goes. He doesn't cheat the fans. He goes in there and he tries to put people away. He runs out of energy a little bit, but in general, he's done everything he needed to do. He's earned his spot, and he deserves to do what he does. And I love the fact that he can. You know, I respect Canelo and what he's done as much as anybody. The respect I have for Canelo as a boxer, as a fighter, as a businessman, and just as like as a career is as high as it can possibly be, because he's done everything. And even when I talk about how he lost to Bivol, Bivol is much bigger than him. Bivol is definitely like, you know, one to two weight classes ahead, above Canelo, for real. Canelo went up and fought a much bigger man, and you know, got handled by a guy who was, in my opinion, better than him and bigger than him. That's not fair. Well, you know, he went and fought him. He got paid. Good for him. And you know, everything that happened deserved to happen. But regardless, that was a tough fight. That was a tough fight for Canelo to take. He took it. He got beat by a better man, and he'll never be able to beat Bivol. He'll never be able to beat him. He'll never be able to beat Beterbiev either. He won't. He'll get stopped by Beterbiev. He'll get beat by Bivol. He might even get stopped by Bivol next time if Bivol tries to stop him. I think he could. But I don't know. It's tough though, because Canelo can take a beating and he can take a lot of punches. But I think Bivol, that's not who Canelo wants to get in there with. Canelo should get in there with the winner of Murrell versus Benavidez. And if they can make that fight, can pop off and can come off the way it needs to, if they can sell it out, if they can make if both fighters can make a lot of money and they can make a lot of money for the card, then there's a great chance that, you know, Canelo will be like, hey, you know what? I might take that fight now, because they're talking about David Benavidez being the #1 pound-for-pound fighter in the world, or they're talking about Murrell being the #1 pound fighter in the world. If either of those guys stop the other, they might get elevated to top 5 pound-for-pound. Either one of those guys, if the other stop, and rightfully so. You're the two best at 168, and if one guy stops the other, there's nothing else. There's nowhere else to go. You're the best 168 pounder. Canelo don't want to fight you. You're doing everything you can. Now, the last option for them, obviously, the winners of the Beterbiev and Bivol fight against the winner of Benavidez and Murrell. That is what I kind of see happening. And then I can kind of see maybe Canelo then being like, okay, especially if Beterbiev is the one that ends up winning everything. Because then it's like, okay, I got to wait for this guy to keep getting older. I mean, 39, 40 is not old enough for some reason, I guess. This guy's still just a machine. He's like LeBron. So I don't know. I don't know when this guy's ever going to stop. But I do think that Benavidez Murrell winner and the Bivol Beterbiev winner is pretty much common sense, right? Unless Canelo wants to step in. Otherwise, it's a crash course, in my opinion. They're going to have to come up to 175, I think. I think they're going to have to come up to 175 for that fight. But that's kind of like where I see it going. Would be the winner of Bivol, or winner of Murrell and Benavidez fighting the winner of Bivol and Beterbiev, and then Canelo floating around, hopefully keeping his eye on the situation to either fight the winner of one of those two fights after it, or the winner of the entire foursome. You know, that's what I would want to see. That's what I think boxing needs, and that's one thing I think that would get Canelo out of his bed to do that. I don't blame him for not fighting any of these guys so far, because, you know, these guys are tough, and they don't have half the name of Canelo, right? They don't. None of them have half the name. So Canelo's going to be carrying like the hardest fighter in the world. Why do you want to carry the hardest fighter in the world? The hardest fighter in the world should bring his own thing, so no one has to carry anybody, right? Riot Season, though, is doing that. That's what we need. We need Riot Season this is going to blow them up to the world, these guys. Benavidez, Murrell. I don't know if Benavidez and Murrell are fighting on what kind of card they're fighting. I don't know if they're fighting overseas, but still, it's a great fight, and I think, you know, that pay-per-view should be a good pay-per-view. People should buy that fight, and if the promoters do a good job, they should be able to get that one. Obviously, Beterbiev and Bivol, that's going to be on Riot Season right now. We're coming up this weekend, and it's going to be huge. So that should bolster the names of Bivol and Beterbiev. They should bolster them up, hopefully to a level that is acceptable for Canelo to be like, I like that fight now. No one thinks I can win, but I see a way I can win. And even if I don't win, I'm not supposed to. I'm a smaller man. So, there's good and bad. I think Canelo has a great chance to beat Murrell or Benavidez. I think he's got no chance to beat Bivol or Beterbiev. I think he like I said, I don't think whoever wins Murrell or Benavidez, they're gonna. I think they will if they fight the winner of Beterbiev versus Bivol. That guy, whoever fights Bivol or Beterbiev is gonna get smashed, in my opinion, or beat. Maybe not smashed. Might be maybe not smashed and absolutely taken apart. But if they fight Beterbiev, I think someone's gonna get smashed and taken apart. I think that's a bad matchup for everybody. I think Beterbiev is a bad matchup, really, for Benavidez. I think it's a horrible matchup for him because he's just gonna fight fire with that guy. I don't think that works. That's Benavidez' thing. But Benavidez can, he can hurt people, and Beterbiev has been hurt, so we will see what happens. But tell me what you think, guys. Tell me if you think what fight you want to see. If once these fights all materialize, do you want to see the winner of Beterbiev and Bivol versus the winner of Murrell and Benavidez, or do you want to see Canelo kind of step in? I'm like this. I want to see the winners of both fights fight each other. I want to see the losers of both fights fight each other, and I want to see Canelo just cherry pick whatever he wants, but cherry pick one of those four, because none of those four is a cherry pick. It's all tough fights. Canelo knows that better than anybody. That's why I doubt. That's why, even after all this, I'm not very confident that Canelo will fight any of these four guys. But we are at least one step closer to that happening. You know what I'm saying? Thank you, guys. Thanks for watching again. If you liked it, or if you think it was interesting at all, like it, subscribe. I'd appreciate it. And more importantly than anything, I like comments, because I'd love for anyone to talk not talk junk, but just agree, disagree, tell me what you think. I like to learn too. I like to talk boxing. Boxing is what I like to do. So anyway, that's what.